So I was just having a conversation with someone. I was talking to them about a friend that has PTSD, and that I'm trying to figure out how best to support that friend. Like, do I just like stay on the phone with them for hours and let them, vent, or would it be better for me to like establish a cutoff at a certain point? Not necessarily to stop listening to them, but what I have noticed is that it's like their brain will get stuck in a loop. And so I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way for me to help them get unstuck? Is it to actively listen and to suggest something at some time or try and distract or something? Or would it be better, like, if I notice they're repeating things, to then kind of like end the conversation so that they don't have an audience, and so maybe their brain will stop going? Because I feel like my guess is, and this is my educated guess because I suffered from PTSD very severely for a long time. It's been really interesting having a friend with such intense PTSD and like seeing this from the other side intimately, and also recognizing that was what I was going with. I didn't realize that this was part of my expression of PTSD, but yes, I experienced this and this is what was going on. So yeah, I mean, my theory right now is that, yeah, like when I notice that they start to repeat things, because what I've noticed is that they'll start to repeat things and there is no changing the subject. There is no distracting. Like their brain is literally stuck in a loop. And, maybe they or some people repeat things over and over again because they don't feel like they've been heard, or, they're just stuck. So, yeah, so I just wanted to make a video kind of talking about this and PTSD, because one of the things this person said was that kind of upset me a little bit, is they're like, well, this person needs to take responsibility for this and, basically not rely, too much on like me and other friends and stuff for support. And when I heard that, and I understand that perspective coming from someone that has not experienced PTSD, but from my experience of PTSD and that of my friend, and what I have seen of other people that I know have PTSD and what they have, publicly expressed, PTSD is intense. It is intense. And when you are in the middle of a PTSD episode, especially when it's bad, from my experience, you're not really capable of asking for help. You're not capable of asking for help. I mean, most of the time, for me and what I'm seeing in my friend, is you're scared to ask for help. You don't know what kind of help to ask for, or your brain is in shock and you're stuck in a state of fear or terror. And just like right now, I mean, my professional opinion, because I feel like a professional in this area with all my fucking experience and years of research on this topic and stuff. I mean, like, I'm not, but I would say that my experiences are probably like extremely insightful and just as valuable as a good bit of the education people that don't have experience with this. I mean, isn't firsthand experience usually the most beneficial, especially if you're able to look at it objectively and subjectively and all that good shit? Anyways, okay, so PTSD, supporting people. Okay, so people with PTSD, I didn't know who to ask for help. I didn't know what to ask for help with. I was just in a state of fear, terror, anxiety, etc. And I'm very lucky in that for most of the years that I was at my worst with PTSD, that I had a family and a husband that supported me. They didn't know how to soothe me psychologically, but I knew that I had a support system, and I also knew that my husband was willing to tolerate a lot of craziness with me because he loved me so much. One of the things that I've been thinking about lately was how PTSD affected my sleep. How I was always constantly tired. I could sleep for like 14 hours or more, and how not only was I always tired, but it didn't matter how much sleep I had. I could not wake up at certain times of the day, specifically in the morning. I could not wake up in the morning. And just that one part of PTSD caused me to fail a lot of classes. I was not able to function on the normal day shift schedule of a lot of college stuff and work stuff. And it took me years to figure that out and to figure out that I needed an alternative schedule for me to be able to function. But also, I'd struggled to wake up. No matter how many alarms I set, I would struggle. And so I asked Carl to help wake me up. And Carl hated it when I would ask him to wake me up. Because what would happen a lot of the time is that if he woke me up, a lot of the time I would wake up in a distressed state, and I'd be angry and volatile and sometimes hostile. And it would go throughout the day, starting the day in that kind of state, starting the day, waking up feeling disoriented, feeling attacked. And I think there's some interesting things to explore there, just because I think there's something to this whole sleep cycle thing, because my theory, this makes sense. If you go through trauma, sleep is healing. If you go through trauma, your body's probably going to want more sleep because your brain needs more time to process things and stuff. But, okay, where was I going with that? Well, anyways, I didn't want to be angry and hostile, but I felt threatened. And my other theory is, maybe for me, I don't remember when I first became a night owl. Honestly, I should blame my dad, because he would wake me up at 2:00 in the morning to eat food or whatever. But I know what times of day my brain works best, and I know what times of day my brain does not work best. And I am not very useful before 10:00 in the morning. And I am most useful and most mentally clear and focused between 10 in the evening and 2 or 3 in the morning. And it took me a long time of trying to attempt to adapt to society to realize, no, F that. Society needs to adapt to me, guys. If you want my my talents and stuff, it needs to adapt to me. So thank you for remote asynchronous work. I appreciate it. Maybe I manifested that. You're welcome. But yeah, PTSD is so complex, and I expressed mine in so many different ways, and my friend experiences in different ways. They're not as volatile as I was. They're more distressed, but it's almost like a persona difference. Now, Carl says he doesn't think that I had a persona difference, but it was definitely a very different state. He said I could be terrifying, which I know, I could be terrifying. And the thing is that I'd wake up in this state, and I'd be in this state for a while. And I do remember that I would be upset for a while, but a lot of times what would happen is when I would start to come out of the state, I would start to get upset and feel guilt and shame for being ugly and feel bad. And then that would just cause me to continue to kind of stay in a bad state for a while. It was hard to let it go. A lot easier when I could just go be by myself and stuff. So there's part of me that feels if you know someone with PTSD, you should just let them sleep. Just let them sleep. Let them have, the older I get, the more I'm all about listening to your body. If you are tired, go lay down and don't get up until you're not tired, or if you do get up, go lay back down. Continue to rest until you feel refreshed. There is a reason that your body is sending you signals that you are tired. So listen to your body. And sometimes there might be something going on with you that you don't quite understand, and your body might need more sleep than usual or less. So I really do think that if I could go back in time and, give younger me advice, like that's one of the things I do is more sleep, listen to your body, put healthy fuel in your body, and drink lots of water. So the PTSD stuff is hard because like here I am, I find myself with my friend trying to help them as much as possible. And I can tell that having my support in their life is helping them. Like we all, the other thing I was going to say is I was very lucky in that Carl is my rock and I always had him to ground me. I think a lot of people with PTSD end up not having any sort of support system, and they need it. And what I wanted to say, going back to how I started this, is that people with PTSD need your help. It doesn't matter if they're an adult. When you are experiencing PTSD, you are in a state of trauma and fear. You need your community and your loved ones to help shine you a light out of that dark cave and to help guide you. Just because someone is a grown adult does not mean that they don't struggle with things and need your assistance. Like this whole idea of, oh, they need to take responsibility for this or whatever. Well, we as a society need to take responsibility for helping one another. And sometimes some of us are not in a state to be able to take care of ourselves. You can at least try. You can at least make the offer, or at least not blame someone, acknowledge that they are a victim of trauma and what they are experiencing or exhibiting is not their fault, and it's also not their norm, like I can recognize when my friend is in a distressed state and when they're not in a distressed state, and it's almost like two completely different people. Do I hold it against them? No. I can also recognize when my husband is in a distressed state or is acting out of a place of fear or unhealthy anxiety. And I know that he had that a lot of that is caused by trauma that he's experienced, that he's still trying to process, and that it's not his fault. It doesn't mean that you don't establish boundaries when you have people like that in your life. Like, you need to establish boundaries. You have to protect your own energy and space in order to continue to have the energy and fuel you need to help others. But, I just really think it's very important that we stop freaking, blaming people for things that aren't their fault, and we actually try and help people and look out for one another like a fucking, community should do. So anyways, I could talk more about this, but I'm just going to stop it there. So yeah. What do y'all think, guys? Any thoughts?